Good evening. Melbourne has dodged another potential terror disaster with the arrests of 3 men in the northern suburbs, all born in Australia of Turkish descent. They've been charged with plotting an IS-inspired mass shooting in a crowded place. Neri Tai begins our coverage.
3 young men accused of plotting an evil terrorist attack in the heart of Melbourne. 21-year-old Hanifi Halas, 30-year-old Atunç Eriklioglu and his 26-year-old brother Samed Eriklioglu were allegedly planning mass carnage.
There was a view towards a crowded place, a place where maximum people would be attending to be able to kill, we allege, kill a maximum amount of people as possible.
9 News was first on scene when police raided homes across the northwestern suburbs, neutralising an imminent threat.
If we had not acted early in preventing this attack, we'll allege the consequences would have been chilling.
It's alleged the men were planning to target a crowded place in Melbourne to cause the most amount of casualties. They were in the process of accessing high-powered rifles. Police say although their messages were encrypted, there had been increased chatter in the past week since the Burke Street attack.
But certainly over the last week, they've become much more energised about doing something more quickly.
Heavily armed officers raided homes in Geach Street, Dallas, Gentles Avenue, Campbellfield, Lemonwood Drive, Greenvale and Almerta Avenue in Coolaroo.
It was a loud bang and I woke up and I thought it was a burglar or something. And they tied me up, they put me on the floor, put a gun at me, to my wife as well.
Amagan Eriklioglu woke this morning to the Special Operations Group taking his 26-year-old son into custody. They wanted to cause mass casualty and target somewhere in a big popular place in the city.
No way, no way, not Australia, no.
The 51-year-old said his son had been living in the bungalow with his grandmother and that his boys aren't violent.
They don't know even how to use a weapon. They don't even go to the army. They're very polite. They're not violent, they're not aggressive.
Another son was arrested in Dallas. 9 News has been told Atunç had stopped attending a local mosque around 2 years ago and instead was praying inside his garage. His wife and young child rattled by the heavy police activity. Were you praying in the garage? Was that being used as a mosque?
I don't know.
A woman visited the home and lashed out at the media.
You guys are copping.
The men had been on the radar since last year and were under surveillance for the past 9 months. Police say their passports were cancelled this year when they planned to travel to Turkey.
They're listening to scholars like me, scholars and all that, but no, not Islamic State.
A number of Qurans, mobile phones and computers were seized during the raids.
I know those people for 20 years and they're really, really nice people. Especially that boy, he's a very nice boy.
Long-time residents stunned they grew up alongside suspected terrorists.
Very good kid, honest, humble. He's in his religion, you know. He keeps himself. He opened his own business recently, so pretty sure. I don't know, I don't believe it. It's very shocking.
The seriousness of this potential incident should not be underestimated, and we congratulate and we are very grateful, all of us as Victorians, for the work that has been done.
Neri Tai, 9 News.
The accused men faced court this afternoon. Crime reporter Alexis Daesh was there. Lexi, what happened?
Pete, for a while here this afternoon, we thought there was every chance we weren't going to be allowed inside the courtroom to hear the proceedings, and that's because a QC representing the Chief Commissioner tried to close the court to all media. Luckily, though, the magistrate decided to allow journalists inside, and there we could see all 3 accused sitting together in the dock side by side quite closely, and we could see one of them has got what looks to be a bruise or a graze over his left eye, and we heard that he sustained that injury whilst being arrested by police this morning. We also learnt that amongst the evidence, police have got almost 8,000 hours worth of listening device material. Charged with chilling plans for mass murder, Hanifi Halas from Greenvale was the first to arrive at court. Then came brothers Samed and Atunç Eriklioglu. Police separated and flanked them in different cars, all calm and composed and all facing a Commonwealth charge of acting in preparation for or planning of terrorist acts.
We believe we had enough evidence to act.
Until this moment, the accused terrorists of Turkish background had no idea authorities were watching them for months. The Chief Commissioner told a news conference 2 of the 3 have no criminal history. The other's only offence dates back to 2007 when he failed to display L plates on a car.
Other than that, there's no criminal history or background, certainly no bail or anything like that applying in this case.
Details of the detective's investigation were revealed in court, including 17,000 intercepts, 7,800 hours worth of listening device material and 10,500 text messages.
At this stage, what we will be alleging is that they were trying to acquire semi-automatic 22 calibre rifles.
The disturbing allegations come just 11 days after Hassan Khalif Shire Ali rampaged along Bourke Street with a knife, stabbing innocent members of the public. And 1 week prior to that, a jury found 3 men guilty of plotting a terror attack at various landmarks in the city over Christmas in 2016, using machetes and homemade explosives. It begs the question why Melbourne has become such a target for inflicting terror.
Melbourne seems as much affected by recruitment and radicalisation and terrorism as Sydney. I don't think it's push factors on the ground, it's about the social networks that are strong in these 2 cities.
Home Affairs Minister Peter Dutton is calling for new laws to be passed allowing agencies to monitor encrypted messages between criminals.
We have people now who are swapping messages using encrypted messaging apps, and the police are blind to those messages.
Regardless, these 3 have been remanded in custody until April next year. Alexis Daish, 9 News.
Good evening. 3 suspected terrorists from Melbourne's northern suburbs are tonight in custody, charged with planning an attack that was designed to kill as many people as possible. Police say they were forced to act swiftly because they feared the group was in the final stage of obtaining deadly weapons.
Ertunch Erikliolu, his younger brother Samad Erikliolu, and their friend Hanifi Hallis. 3 men, police say, aspired to shoot and kill as many Victorians as possible in a terror attack.
It was a view towards a crowded place, a place where maximum people would be attending to be able to kill, we allege, kill a maximum amount of people as possible.
If we had not acted early in preventing this attack, we'll allege the consequences would have been chilling.
Under the cover of darkness, police this morning cracked what they say was a suburban terror cell. Striking just after 3 a.m, officers raided homes in Dallas, Campbellfield and Greenvale in the city's northwest. The homes, they will allege, of 3 IS-inspired jihadis.
Saw it on the TV and then thought, well, that looks pretty familiar. Walked out the front and all this is going on. It's a little bit of a shock, a little bit too close to home.
I'm really surprised, really surprised. I can't believe it.
All 3 men are Australian born of Turkish heritage. They came to the attention of authorities in March when it was feared they had plans to fight overseas. Their passports were cancelled. So instead of travelling overseas, they turned their attention closer to home. And despite knowing they were under the scrutiny of joint counter-terror police, it's alleged the men continued to plot an attack on Melbourne. Police say they tried to purchase a semi-automatic rifle to inflict maximum damage.
They're not violent, they're not aggressive. A few months ago they cancelled their passports as well. They were going to travel to Turkey. It's been cancelled.
The brother's father insists they're God-fearing men, but shared these controversial views when pressed on whether his sons had any links to extremism.
He always said that the United States built that ISIS up. They're the ones who made it up.
Ertunch Erikliolu's wife also claims she knew nothing of her husband's radicalisation.
Are the allegations true?
Well, I don't know. I don't know anything.
Were you praying in the garage? Was that being used as a mosque?
I don't know. I don't know.
There are details police say they don't yet know either. After their passports were cancelled, the men became more sophisticated, using encrypted messaging apps to communicate.
This group were using these encrypted communications to deal with each other, so that made to be able to be precise about when and where more difficult. So we did make a decision to act as soon as we had enough evidence.
I'd like to thank the dedicated investigators, intelligence officers who work day in, day out and are focused on one key issue, and that is keeping the people of Victoria safe. Thank you.
Live now to Jodie Lee in Dallas, and Jodie, police will now spend time speaking to as many locals as possible to try to learn more about these men.
Well, that's right, Mitch. These men were born and bred right here in Melbourne's western suburbs, and so it's hoped that those who know them best will be able to assist with police investigations. As for the 30-year-old man who was arrested at the Dallas home here behind me, his neighbours say that he was warm and even played soccer with some other locals until about 2 years ago when he allegedly began to withdraw. So character evidence like that will become just as important as physical evidence as police build their brief over the coming months, and as they try to work out just how 3 men allegedly self-radicalised right here in the suburbs. Mitch?
Thanks, Jodie. Live now to Chanel Vella at the Magistrates Court. And Chanel, what's been revealed inside court this afternoon?
Well, Mitch, the hearing was closed to media for a small amount of time, but when we were allowed inside, we saw the 3 men sitting in the dock. Now, they did notice that a court artist was sketching them, and they looked down from time to time and quietly spoke to one another. We heard from prosecutors, though, that they're going to need a long time to compile their brief of evidence, and that is because there is so much material. This is what we heard. There will be 17,000 intercepted calls, 10,500 text messages, 7,800 hours of recorded conversations from listening devices, and that equates to around 325 days of rolling recordings. We also heard today during the raids they seized 11 devices. That was made up of 4 phones and 3 tablets. The lawyers said that for these men it was their first time in custody. One of them asked to be seen by a nurse because he sustained some injuries during this morning raids. But all 3 of those men will return to court on the 30th of April. Mitch?
Thanks, Chanel. Now to Blake Johnson, who's at the Hume Islamic Youth Centre in Coolaroo. And Blake, some of the suspects have spent time at this controversial centre.
Peter, police say the men have spent time here in their younger years, not so much lately. There is no suggestion from police that they were radicalised or influenced by anyone at the centre, but the Burke Street attacker from a couple of weeks ago is alleged to have spent limited time here. So too the 3 men recently found guilty of plotting a 2016 Christmas Day attack in the city. They would use the gym here. Neighbours of the 3 men charged today say those 3 men have since drifted away from their local Islamic community, choosing instead to run their own meetings away from the youth centre here in Coolaroo, which neighbours found odd.
Probably last 2 years now. Okay. He got a few friends now and then come with the friend because so I don't agree with that. I telling them, you know, you guys doing what you're doing is wrong. You know, there is mosque close by. We go pray in the mosque. Every now and then his brother come and then another boy come. So I saw them, you know, I said, what are you guys doing here, you know?
We've reached out to leaders of the Hume Islamic Youth Centre to get their side of the story to find out just how much contact they have with these 3 men. They've chosen not to answer our questions tonight, Peter.